So we're going to find, I'm going to give you a graph, and you're going to tell me what the domain is and what the range is. All right? Now, do you remember that this means it's included, this means it's not included? What? Do you know that? In our domain, we're going to write our domain and range in either parentheses or brackets. This might be something else you missed a little bit last year, because you would have known that. It's all good. Okay? So if I give you a graph as an example that looks like this. Okay? Now, when I put an arrow on the end, it means it goes forever. Doesn't it? Yes. So when I look at my domain, what is the smallest? We always do smallest to largest. Always. What is the smallest x? But it's an open circle, so negative 3 is not included, is it? So it gets a parenthesis. Negative 3. How far to the right does that graph go? Forever, which would be to infinity
and beyond.
And beyond. Infinity and negative infinity always get a parenthesis.
I did not know that.
Now you do. So that is the domain. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
You see where I got it?
Yep, pretty sure.
Okay. Range.
I always felt like domain and range is always like an inequality. Like I always viewed it as one of the like double inequalities. Yeah.
This is just a different way of writing it.
Yeah. It's just
Range. What is the smallest? Y.
0.
Is 0 included?
yes.
Yeah.
So it gets a
Bracket.
bracket.
Okay. Then infinity.
And then infinity.
So if it was going down, would it be negative infinity?
Yes, but remember smallest comes first. And we'll do one of those. Okay? Can we do one?
Yeah.
All right, everybody okay with this?
Yeah.
It's not as bad as you thought, is it? When we started, you were looking at me like, this is going to be so hard. All right. Okay. What is the domain? Domain is the smallest x. Negative 3, and it's a parenthesis. Yes? To what?
Negative.
No. Is it going right forever?
So just negative.
That's infinity. To the right is infinity, isn't it? Now, for the range, what's the lowest it goes for range?
Infinity.
No,
Negative infinity.
negative infinity.
Yes.
Agreed? Gets a infinity and negative infinity always gets a parenthesis. Because I can't put an exact number there. Now, how high does this graph go?
Is this just in regards to the first number? Because the one before had an infinity in it, but we gave it brackets.
No, we didn't. We gave it a parenthesis.
But we did give it
No, the first one, the infinity flipped on the range.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's about the first one,
So,
not the second one. Because in the last problem, range was 0, infinity, we gave it brackets. That's because
0, we gave a bracket. Infinity, we gave a parenthesis.
so it's like a bracket at the beginning and a parenthesis.
What about
Yes,
the
yeah.
range right
Why not?
Really?
It looks at each number separately.
What?
Yeah.
Then why on the domain is there parentheses at the end?
Because it's an open circle.
Oh!
The negative infinity.
I don't understand that.
Shouldn't be what?
Zero.
It makes sense.
I haven't finished it yet. How far down does this graph go?
Negative.
Negative infinity. How far up does it go? With a bracket.
But why is that first? Because last time.
Because the lowest number goes first.
Oh, okay, that's my bad.
The smallest number goes first, every time. Smallest to largest. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. I understand. It just makes me angry.
Well, okay, you can be angry, I guess.
You need to learn to forgive, Chandler. Forgive and forget.
Right? The domain. -4 with a bracket. Is it a solid circle?
Yeah.
How far right? 7 parentheses. What about range? What's the lowest it goes?
Oh, no, that's a lot.
10.
Oh, 10. Negative.
-10 with a bracket or parenthesis.
Parenthesis.
How high does it go?
1.
With a
Bracket.
I'm gonna get so confused on this.
Yeah.
How can one parenthesis, one bracket,
I know.
no.
Yeah.
It's against everything you all have been taught. I realize that. All right, 1 more. Graph, and then we'll move to equations. What is the domain?
Do we do all of them, right?
This is the function. So the domain, I just list all the x's. -3, -1, 1, and 3. Okay? They actually have these things, but I'm not very good at them. The squiggle squiggles.
I call it, they kind of look like the fancy grease that some people do.
Because it's not an interval, it's just single numbers. Okay, what is the range? 2? 2, 3, and 4? Would you agree?
Yes.
That's my answer.
Okay.
Now that's how we do domain and range off graphs. What if we have equations? Let's do a simple one first. My function is this. What would make my denominator 0?
-4.
-4. Would that that be undefined if my denominator was 0?
Yeah.
So is my domain everything except -4?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
So the domain is -infinity to -4 and -4 to infinity. And it's a parenthesis, which means it is not included. Does that make sense? What if I said the easy way to do it is just take the denominator and set it equal to 0 and solve, right?
So do you not have to find the range?
No. You have to graph it to find the range. You can't find the range off of the equation. So what makes that denominator 0?
3
Or
or negative 3.
-3. So my domain is -infinity to -3, -3 to 3, and 3 to infinity. Notice I started with the smallest, I went to the largest. Okay? We good with that? So that's denominators. What if it's under a radical? Well, what's under radical has to be what? Positive?
Positive.
Oh, so if it's negative, so back in undefined, it has to be.
But so does x plus 3 have to be greater than or equal to 0?
Yeah.
Does x have to be greater than or equal to -3?
Yes.
How do I write that? Is -3 included?
Yes.
So it's a bracket, -3 to infinity? This part or this part? The first part?
It recognize for it to be undefined, what's inside has to be negative.
But I'm looking for where it is defined. I don't want to know where it's undefined. I want to know where it's defined. That's what the domain is. Does that help? Okay, what if I have... What am I going to do?
X
6 minus x is greater than or equal to 0. Subtract 6. X is less than or equal to 6. So how do I write this?
from negative infinity. Negative infinity to 6. Bracket. This is less than.
Do you agree? Oh, this next one's going to make you think a little bit. in order to solve this, I've got to factor it. Now, I want to show you all something here in a minute. Do you agree I need something that multiplies to negative 28 and adds to negative 3? Is that negative 7 plus 4? So x equals 7 and negative 4, right? On your calculator, I don't know if you've seen this before or not. I can't remember. I need you to go to apps. I hope it's there. It's Polysmalt, P-L-Y-S-M-L-T, or Polysmalt 2. Do you have that? Everybody have it? Good. Pull that app up. And what we want to do is the polyroot finder. Now, there are different levels of this app, so some of your calculators may ask different questions. So if yours doesn't say what I say, let me know, okay? If you can't figure out what it's saying. What we want to do is solve x squared minus 3x minus 28. Does it ask for either order or degree? That's the largest exponent. What is that? 2? The order or degree is the largest exponent.
Oh, yeah, 2.
2. When you do that and you hit, I don't know, next, or you go to your next screen.
I don't know how to.
That is correct. Now, see across the bottom, there's a next. So you hit the key under it. All right, did you go to the next?
So you don't mess with the...
I won't go down next.
Hit the function button underneath it.
Yeah, because graph right underneath them. Or like the button right
Press
after.
graph.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody on the next screen?
Yep.
Now it should be asking, should be asking for your coefficients. Is it? Yes? That means a squared, a to the first power, and a single number. Yeah. Come in. Okay. Yours is different than the boys' book. Okay? When you get them typed in, across the bottom is solve. See it?
7 is negative 4.
7 and negative 4. You with me?
Yep.
So would you agree, and I'm showing you this, because some of them you might need to use that on, rather than factoring. And as we get further in the course, we will use that more. So x cannot be negative 4 or 7, right? So what is my domain? Negative infinity to what? Negative 4, negative 4 to 7, and 7 to infinity. Does that make sense? Okay, what about this one? What is my domain? What would make the denominator 0? What would make that denominator 0? What's my denominator? 1.
Oh, it's negative 1.
No, the denominator's 1. Isn't it? Can 1 ever be 0? No. Can 1 ever be 0?
No.
One is not zero.
So the domain is,
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of numbers right there. It's like a lot of space. Negative infinity to infinity.
so if there's no denominator, it's easy, isn't it? It should be. Anytime there's no denominator, if it's not a radical, it's negative infinity to infinity.
Oh, okay.
Anytime. So if you know that, that makes it easy. What would make that denominator 0?
Nothing.
Why?
Because it's absolute value.
Well, because doesn't this piece have to equal negative 4?
Yeah, but it's
And it can.
so it's just
Oh, this absolute value.
So this, okay, now I'm going to try to trick you, okay?
easy.
That's not what you got.
No, I haven't tried to trick you yet. I'm trying on this one.
This one's singularity.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
3 or negative 3.
No.
Oh. Oh wait, no.
Is it true that this
Has to be 3 and
has to
negative 5.
equal 4?
Oh wait.
It has to be 3 and negative 5.
So can this equal 4 or
Negative.
negative 4?
Yes. That's big.
3 and negative 5?
That makes more sense.
How do I write it?
Negative infinity, and then negative 5, and then negative 5 to 3, and then negative 23 to infinity. I forgot my watch.
Let's put everything together and do a hard one, okay? And I say it's a hard one because it has a couple things that could happen. First of all, what has to be under my radical?
To what?
Does x plus 15 have to be greater than or equal to 0?
Yeah.
Isn't that true? So x has to be greater than or equal to negative 15. Right? That's my first restriction. What is my other one? Is it true that I want to know when this equals 0? So x plus 15 equals 2. X plus
Or x is 1.
what?
Is x 1? Oh yes.
Negative 11. So, everybody okay with that? How do I write the domain? What's the smallest it can be?
Negative 15.
With a bracket. right? Negative 15 to negative 11, and negative 11 to infinity? Does that make sense to you?